Engineer Muhammad Ali Mirza, the name familiar to millions, especially in the South Asia. He is a famous Pakistani Islamic speaker who quickly gained popularity through his YouTube channel, where he mostly speaks on the so-called controversial events throughout the Islamic history in Urdu language. He has a unique style of speaking that consists of sneaky trickery in the name of Quran and Sahih Hadith, accompanied by his foul language and arrogance, which has proven to be the mix that he was looking for in order to gain popularity. And he has successfully fooled millions into believing that he is not only an Islamic scholar but also a mujaddid of this century. And the result, unfortunately, is a total chaos. Most of those inflicted with his ideology are the youngsters. And they not only abhor the true Islamic scholars, but also, due to their corrupted aqidah, they abhor or think badly of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, the very generation that transmitted the deen of Islam to us. Here are some of the comments of the students of Muhammad Ali Mirza. One of them wrote, Muhammad, peace be upon him, I have never heard of Prophet's daughter and wives went out of home with army, na mehram, except Aisha. In nutshell, it's greed of power. Another of his students wrote, Muawiyah kept fighting even when it was obvious to him that he was wrong. Talha and Zubair realized their mistakes and retreated or tried to correct them. This is the difference. This also shows that Muawiyah's claim on the blood of Uthman was a pretext and not genuine. Now, as you can see, they are talking about the wife and the companions of the Prophet ﷺ as if someone speaks about his 12 years old. Had I not told you that these comments are written by the students of engineer Muhammad Ali Mirza, you would have thought these are the comments of some Shias or Rafida. The filth and the venom that engineer Ali Mirza has spewed into the brains of these youngsters over the years is the outcome of his arrogance and self-admiration. And the word arrogance, al-kibr, is best defined by our beloved Prophet ﷺ, as it is narrated by Ibn Mas'ud Radiallahu Anhu in Sahih Muslim and by Abu Huraira Radiallahu Anhu in Adab al-Mufrad that the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-kibru batarul haq wa ghamtun nas. Arrogance is disdaining the truth that is out of self-conceit and being contemptuous of people. One cannot ignore the smirk on the face of Ali Mirza and the cheap language filled with arrogance, which makes his videos unwatchable for someone who even possesses the basic knowledge of Islam. In this video, we will explore the methodology of Ali Mirza by means of which he slowly inserts the poison of Rafida into the minds of Sunni population in the name of Quran and Sunnah and in the name of finishing the sectarian divisions within Islam while doing the exact opposite. Now let's take for example one of his videos about the permissibility of saying Alaihissalam after the name of the fourth caliph Ali bin Abi Talib and other members of Ahlul Bayt and all the other companions of the Prophet. It's an issue of dispute among the scholars. So in his video, he chose the opinion that it is permissible to use the pronominal suffix of Alaihissalam for male and Alaihassalam for female after the names of Ahlul Bayt especially and other companions in general. Had he stopped here, there wouldn't have been any issue. But to promote his agenda, he doubled down by saying that this isn't the issue of Quran and Hadith. Rather, it is due to the Shia-Sunni conflict that Sunni Muslims stopped saying Alaihissalam after the names of Ahlul Bayt. Otherwise, our Salaf used to say it, so we should say it as well. And then Ali Mirza started listing the evidence to support his claim, and I will examine all of his evidence one by one to show that none of them actually supports his claim. So now let's take a look at his evidence. So first he mentioned that in the Sahih al-Bukhari hadith number 6318, Imam Bukhari wrote Alaihissalam, meaning peace be upon both, after mentioning the names of Fatima and Ali. And in hadith number 3748, he wrote Alaihissalam after the name of Al-Hussein. And similarly, in Sunan Abi Dawud, hadith number 4646, Imam Abu Dawud wrote Alaihissalam after the name of Ali. So, by that, Ali Mirza concluded that the Muhaddiseen of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah used to write Alaihissalam after the names of Ahlul Bayt. And then he pressed the button of spewing the trash out of his mouth to release the pain in his belly and pointed his cannons towards the English and Urdu translators of Sahih al-Bukhari and called them all sorts of names. So he called them ulama su, meaning evil scholars, and he called them dogs. And he also called them that they do tahrif like the scholars of Yahud. And he said regarding the English and Urdu translators, phrases like Isme Molvi ghus gaya, Molvi vard gaya, etc. The language he used is so cheap and below the belt. Why? Just because they wrote Radiallahu Anhu instead of Alaihissalam. Because, as I told you, there is a difference of opinion among the scholars. Some say it is permissible, while others say that it's not permissible, as I will explain it later. Anyway, then he claimed that the categorization of the use of Radiallahu Anhu with the companions of the Prophet and Alaihissalam with the Prophets is from the concoction of Maulvis and was not found among the Muhaddiseen of Ahlus Sunnah. Well, it's the same trick that his teacher Maulana Ishaq once played by saying that the phrase Muhammadur Rasulullah is not mentioned in the same sentence with La ilaha illallah in the Quran and Sunnah. So if someone adds Aliyun Waliullah while taking the Shahada, then there is no problem. And that's how they inject the virus of Rafida in the minds of normal people that cannot identify their trickery. But before examining this evidence of Ali Mirza, let's finish listing all of them. So he also said that in the prayer we say Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahis salihin, that may peace be upon us and all the pious servants of Allah. And he said that if the Sahaba and Ahlul Bayt are not among the pious, then who is? Furthermore, he said that when we go to the graveyard, we say may peace be upon you. Similarly, we Muslims greet each other with salam. And in Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba, hadith number 11793, it is mentioned that Abdullah bin Umar used to say on the grave of Abu Bakr, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Bakr, and on the grave of his father, Assalamu alayka ya Abata. I hope someone tells him the difference between greeting and praying. Anyway, then he said that in the beginning of Sahih Muslim, the student of Imam Muslim said, Qala Muslim bin Hajjaj Qushayri Radiallahu Anhu. And then he concluded by saying that all of these are du'aya kalimat, meaning the phrases of prayer, and can be used for everyone. And he quoted the ayah 8 of Surah Al-Bayyinah, Radiallahu Anhum wa radu an, Dhalika liman khashiya rabbah. Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Him. This is only for those in awe of their Lord. Even though the ayah doesn't support his claim because the ayah specifically refers to the true believers that fear Allah. And he also made mistakes of tajweed and pronunciation while reciting this verse. But anyway, his evidence can be divided into 3 types. Now the first type of evidence can be easily refuted by saying that engineer Ali Mirza is completely ignorant about the history of Hadith and how these books of Hadith reached us. We don't have the original manuscript of Sahih al-Bukhari written by Imam al-Bukhari himself. Rather, these books of Hadith were transmitted to us through Isnad. For example, the students of Imam Bukhari used to listen to the book of Sahih al-Bukhari in the majalis of Sama'. Then they would memorize the complete book in a proficient way, as you and I have memorized Suratul Ikhlas. Then they would write their own copy and read it upon their teacher and get it attested by him. And only then they were allowed to teach it to the others in the similar fashion. So, to make the claim that Imam al-Bukhari or Imam Abu Dawud wrote Alaihissalam after the names of Ahlul Bayt is completely baseless, and I will prove it with evidence that in the hadiths quoted by Ali Mirza, namely hadith number 6318 and hadith number 3748 of Sahih al-Bukhari, and similarly in Abu Dawud hadith number 4646, there is no mention of the phrase Alaihissalam after the names of Ahlul Bayt in early manuscripts, and it was added later on. But before that, I would like to point out that even if it were true that those muhaddithin used to say Alaihissalam after the names of Ahlul Bayt, it doesn't necessarily make it permissible, as the action of any scholar or group of scholars is not a dalil of permissibility or impermissibility of anything. Now let's see how the book of Sahih al-Bukhari reached us. So there were many students of Imam al-Bukhari who heard Sahih al-Bukhari directly from him. And the famous students of Imam al-Bukhari that narrated his Sahih are Muhammad bin Yusuf al-Firabri or Farabri, both pronunciations are correct, Ibrahim bin Maqil al-Nasafi, Hamad bin Shakir, and others. Among these, Firabri is the most famous and the most important because he heard the entire book of Sahih al-Bukhari from Imam al-Bukhari at least twice, and he also had the original book written by Imam Bukhari himself. Now, most of the scholars relied upon three famous copies or three famous narrations of Sahih al-Bukhari. The first one is the copy or the nuskha of Abu Dharr al-Harawi, who heard Sahih al-Bukhari from Abu Ishaq al-Mustamli, Abu al-Haytham al-Kushmihani, and Abu Muhammad bin Hammuya as-Sarakhsi. All three of them heard Sahih al-Bukhari from Firabri, who heard it from the author. Now, al-Mustamli is the most famous among these three narrators from Firabri, and he also made his copy directly from the original of Imam Bukhari that was in the possession of Firabri. And the copy of Abu Dharr al-Harawi is one of the most authentic copies of Sahih al-Bukhari. That is why Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani mostly relied on this copy for his sharh of Sahih al-Bukhari known as Fathul Bari. The second one is the copy of As-Saghani, also known as Nuskha al-Baghdadiyya, because As-Saghani received it through the chain of Daudi an Ibn Hammuya or Hammui an Firabri an al-Bukhari, which is the most famous chain of Sahih al-Bukhari in Baghdad. Now, As-Saghani is one of the big scholars of Hadith, and he is the Sheikh of Al-Zahabi. And another importance of this copy is due to the fact that As-Saghani made his copy from and compared it with another copy that was read upon Firabri during the lifetime of Imam al-Bukhari, and it contains the handwritten note of Firabri that it was read upon him. And he highlighted all the references in other copies, including the sub-narration of Ibrahim bin Maqil al-Nasafi. So it is also a researched and one of the most authentic copies of Sahih al-Bukhari. Now, As-Saghani produced multiple copies of his work, and Ibn Hajar also benefited from Nuskhat As-Saghani for his Sharh Fathul Bari. In fact, the place where Sahih al-Bukhari was published for the first time in the entire world was in Delhi, India, by the scholar Ahmad Ali Saharanpuri in 2 volumes between May 1851 to 1853. And he relied on the Nuskhat As-Saghani for his tab'a. And recently in 2011, another scholar Taqiyuddin al-Nadawi published a researched copy based on 10 reliable narrations of Sahih al-Bukhari, and among them is the original copy handwritten by Imam As-Saghani. And Taqiyuddin also relied on the Nuskha of Imam As-Saghani. And the third one is the copy of Al-Yunini. He collected many copies of Sahih al-Bukhari and made a researched copy of Sahih al-Bukhari known as Nuskha al-Yuniniya, and he compared his copy with 4 most famous copies of his time. The original copy that was read upon Abu Dharr al-Harawi, the original copy that was either read upon or written by Abdullah bin Ibrahim al-Asili, who got Sahih al-Bukhari from Abu Zayd al-Marwazi, who heard it from al-Firabri, the original copy of Ibn Asakir, the famous historian, and the original copy that was read upon Abul Waqt as-Sijzi. And Al-Qastalani for his Sharh of Sahih al-Bukhari relied on the sub-narration of Al-Yuniniya by Al-Ghazuli that had the tahqiq of Al-Mizzi al-Hariri until he received the original copy of Al-Yuniniya. Now the copies based on Al-Yuniniya reached Egypt, where they were worked upon and then published in Matwa al-Kubra al-Amiriyya. And their copy is famously known as Nuskha as-Sultaniyya, which is today the most widespread copy of Sahih al-Bukhari. And recently, a researched copy based on Nuskha al-Yuniniya is published by Maktaba Bayt as-Sunnah, in which they mostly relied on two sub-narrations of Al-Yuniniya by Al-Nuwairi. So these are the brief descriptions of three major copies of Sahih al-Bukhari. The oldest one is the Nuskha of Abu Zar al-Harawi, then the Nuskha al-Baghdadiyya of Imam as-Saghani, and the most widely spread is the Nuskha al-Yuniniya. And among these three, only Al-Yuniniya is the one that has the addition of the phrase Alaihissalam after the names of Ahlul Bayt. And the reason, as explained by Al-Qastalani in his Sharh of Sahih al-Bukhari that is based on Al-Yuniniya, is that the phrase Alaihissalam is mentioned in sub-narrations and original copy of Al-Yunini and in many other copies. And he said that even though its meaning is correct, but we should treat the Sahaba equally, because it is the matter of glorification. The two sheikhs, meaning Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman Radiallahu Anhum, are more worthy of it than Ali Radiallahu Anhu. Therefore, saying Radiallahu Anhu is better. So, as you can see that Al-Qastalani did not attribute the use of Alaihissalam to Imam al-Bukhari. And same thing is said before him by Imam Ibn Kathir in his Tafsir, where he explained it further and said that this phrase is overwhelmingly used by the copists of books, where they single out Ali Radiallahu Anhu with Alaihissalam among all the Sahaba, or with the phrase Karamallahu Wajhahu. And even though its meaning is correct, but we should treat the Sahaba equally, because it is the matter of glorification. The two sheikhs and Amirul Mu'mineen Uthman are more worthy of it than him. May Allah be pleased with all of them. So Imam Ibn Kathir clearly attributed the use of Alaihissalam to the copists of books. In the past, there wasn't any computerized books publisher, so each book was replicated by hands and the copists used to make these copies and sell them in the market. And it used to be a good business back then. And one funny example of such an addition by the copyist is mentioned by Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi in his book Al-Kifaya, that in one of the narrations it said, وَكَانَ الَّذِي بَيْنَهُمَا حَسَنًا, meaning the relation between Ibn Zubayr and Ibn Abbas was good. But the copyist added the phrase Alaihissalam after the word Hasanan, thinking that it's Hasan bin Ali. So, to summarize, the addition of the phrase Alaihissalam in Nuskha al-Yuniniya is the work of copyists and cannot be attributed to Imam al-Bukhari, because the other two copies, namely of As-Saghani and Abu Zar al-Harawi, that were written earlier than al-Yuniniya and are closer to the original, doesn't contain the addition of Alaihissalam after the names of Ali, Fatima, Hassan and Hussein Radiallahu Anhum Ajma'een. Now let's see the two hadiths of Sahih al-Bukhari quoted by Ali Mirza, namely hadith number 3748 and 6318 in both the Nusakh of As-Saghani and Abu Zar al-Harawi. In front of you are the two images for hadith number 3748. The first image is from the print by Saharanpuri based on the sub-narrations of As-Saghani, and the second image is from the print by Taqiyuddin al-Nadawi, based on the original copy that was handwritten by As-Saghani. Also note that Saharanpuri added a symbol of Ra and Dad to denote Radiallahu Anhu, while indicating that it's not part of the text. Now Taqiyuddin al-Nadawi has the complete handwritten copy of As-Saghani, but he only published the first page of the manuscript. And for those asking which one is the best print of Sahih al-Bukhari, this is it. It's not Darut Tahsil, it's not Baitus Sunnah. It's the one published by Taqiyuddin al-Nadawi. Now I also have the second half of the original copy of As-Saghani, but it doesn't have hadith 3748. Therefore, I am showing these two images from the two manuscripts of sub-narrations of As-Saghani, and in both of them the phrase Alaihissalam is nowhere to be found. And here are the two images for hadith number 6318. The first image is from the print by Saharanpuri, and the second image is from the print by Taqiyuddin an-Nadawi. And as expected, there is no mention of Alaihissalam. And now in front of you is the most important image of this entire video. This, what you are witnessing right now, is the original copy of As-Saghani, handwritten by himself. And as you can see, there is no mention of Taraddi or Salam. Now keep in mind that this text is word by word copied from Asl Masmu' ala Firabri, the original copy that was read upon Firabri, which was handwritten during the lifetime of Imam al-Bukhari. And finally, this is the Hadith 3748 from Nuskha of Abu Zar al-Harawi. And again, there is no mention of Alaihissalam. On a side note, Ibn al-Jawzi quoted the same hadith in his book about Yazid ibn Muawiyah al-Rad al-Mutaassib al-Anid, and as you can see, there is also no salam after the name of al-Husayn. And these two images are from sub-narrations of Abu Zar al-Harawi. And note that how one of the copists wrote Radiallahu Anhu after the name of al-Husayn. And this is Hadith 6318 from the Nuskha of Abu Zar al-Harawi. And here is also no Taraddi or Salam. And these two images are from sub-narrations of Abu Zar al-Harawi. And again, one of the copists wrote Radiallahu Anha after the name of Fatima. And since Hafiz ibn Hajar also relied upon Nuskha of Abu Zar al-Harawi, therefore there is no mention of Taraddi or Salam while quoting al-Bukhari Hadith 6318 in Fathul Bari. In fact, Ibn Hajar never attributed the phrase of Alaihissalam after the names of Ahlul Bayt to Imam al-Bukhari in his entire Fathul Bari, though he himself used it in some places. For example, in the book of Tafsir regarding Surah Al-Dhariyat, it says Qala Ali ar-Riyah in most of the manuscripts. But in some of them, there is the addition of phrase Alaihissalam after the name of Ali, as it is recorded by Al-Qastalani as well. So Ibn Hajar mentioned that most of them say Qala Ali ar-Riyah, but Abu Zar says Waqala Ali al-Dhariyat ar-Riyah, and you can see it in Nuskha of Abi Zar. Similarly, in Al-Yuniniya, it says Fatima Alaihissalam in the Bab of Manaqib Qurabati Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Ibn Hajar authenticated the riwayah of Abu Zar where it only says Manaqib Qurabati Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Similarly, Ali Mirza also quoted Abu Dawood Hadith number 4646. And this time I will not go into details as you guys got the point. But briefly, I can say that in the researched version of Sunan Abu Dawood with the tahqiq of Mashhur bin Hassan, there is no mention of Alaihissalam after the name of Ali. And the same hadith is also quoted by Al-Bayhaqi in his Dalail an-Nubuwah. And there is also no mention of Taraddi or Salam after the name of Ali Radiallahu Anhu. And to be honest, how could they say Alaihissalam after the names of Ahlul Bayt when there was even a debate regarding the addition of Salat upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is wajib or at least mustahab. Similarly, saying Radiallahu Anhu or Rahimahullah for the Sahaba is also mustahab, whereas saying Alaihissalam is makruh or at the most mubah with some conditions as we will discuss it later. Now, Al-Iraqi discussed this issue in detail in his Sharh of At-Tabsira wa Tazkira, famously known as Alfiyatul Iraqi, where he said that some scholars used to write Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam after mentioning the Prophet, regardless of whether it was originally present in the narration or not, while other scholars preferred to preserve the original wording of the narration. So if it wasn't mentioned in the narration, they would not write it and instead say it orally. As Ibn Daqiq al-Eid also said that if the narration does not mention the salat and one reading the book says it orally, then he should indicate it with his action. For example, he should raise his head to stop looking at the book and make intention in his heart that he is the one who is sending the salat and not narrating it from someone else. Anyway, what has been presented so far is enough to prove that Imam al-Bukhari or Imam Abu Dawood never specified the phrase Alaihissalam for Ali, Fatima, Hassan and Al-Husayn radiyallahu anhum ajma'een. And in the next video, we will analyze the remaining two types of evidence that engineer Ali Mirza presented to support his view. And I will show you that how the lack of understanding of these texts led him to form such an opinion, which is easily refutable and is already refuted by many scholars. So stay tuned. See you guys in the next episode.